Oh, great.
So here we go. So we're recording. We're back live from isolation, one in Coeur d'Alene, one in Rathdrum, Idaho. Cool thing was we had another subscriber come up who was 55. It seems like we're starting to catch on to people younger than us, if they
Grace
can.
on Trace. Yeah, Grace on Trace.
Yeah. Great audience, just younger than us. So today we're kind of going over the question that the viewer had on his true twin Rome hybrid snowboard. So basically what he wanted to know was what kind of foot setup he should have in the way of angles. What do you think about that, Ted?
Well, because he asked about riding backcountry and powder.
Yeah, he did.
So what I thought about was, first of all, the disclaimer in front is I'm new to powder. I've only been doing it for half dozen years, and
That
also
doesn't count all the years you put it on your face.
yeah, right.
For me, my mother put it on my butt.
It's white though. It's white.
Yeah.
So and riding trees and in powder. So that's been a new thing for me. So when I moved out west, I got a powder board, and it was a Solomon Snow Snake. It was a 2013 156 twin, and made the nose longer, than the tail, and and the thing that I got into when I read his piece was I use the same angle of foot setup because I adjust it for how I'm comfortable, how it's painful. So if my back leg gives in, I don't have a cartilage. Right. So I set that binding is set up so I can move that leg around without getting to a spot where it hurts.
Right.
And I can still use it. And same goes for the front, because that's got an ankle injury. So my binding set up on my
current board,
my regular ride, and the binding set up on my powder ride are the same. They're different widths. I got a bigger nose on my powder board. The spread between my feet is the same. Everything as far as binding and me are the same. The board's different, and it rides fine in powder. And the board that I use on groomers I'm happy with that too. So I would say set the board up in the summer, move around on it, and see, how comfortable you are physically to be able to go up and down, to shift back and forth, and where you can do things in balance and feel the strength of your legs doing it.
Okay, so for me, I was at a positive 15 and a negative 15 on the rear foot on a twin board, twin being that my nose was 20 inches, my tail was 20 inches. My split difference was about 21.5 between them, but the degree difference was 30 degrees between the 2 feet. So I was ducked. Now that board hypothetically was set up because I'm instructing and I need to ride regular, and then I need to ride switch for other people to show them the actions of the legs. So subsequently I kind of stayed with that. I ended up riding a lot of powder and boards that were more twin directional rather than true twin. And when that happened, I got the thought process, oh, well, let's put more weight on the back foot. But since I didn't like the feeling of the back foot weighted and the feeling of the end of the run going, damn, my back leg is tired, I decided that I didn't care if my nose was above the snow or below the snow, depending on the condition and quality of the snow, what it would give me and what I could take away from it. There are times when the snow got heavier that I would not necessarily move back, but what I would do is change my turn shape to being in heavier powder, wetter snow, to one that is more open turns, in other words, connected closer to the fall line and less turning across the fall line. So I maintain speed and momentum as you have mentioned. Okay. Now, watching me over the last couple of years, How many times have you seen me change my foot placement in a
every,
season?
every day, and usually in the sequence of a couple of times in an hour.
Yeah, okay. So recently, you know that I went from that true twin that I had to a little more directional board,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, with a lot more nose. So what I had to do was I had to set it up the way I had my feet. I rode it for a day, and what did I do the next day?
You changed it around, and
I changed it. Exactly right. Because I didn't feel that that long nose was performing the same as my true twin, I didn't like the way it entered. And then to complicate matters more, it's an asymmetrical board. So
right.
I have a 46-inch running edge on my toe side, and I have a 43 on my heel. All of those things made a difference. And then what difference did you do with your high backs this year?
Well, yeah. Once I felt really much more comfortable on that board, I pushed the high backs in. Yeah, I angled them in further. Made
Right.
my made my ankle close down more, and made my edge engagement happen faster
Yeah.
and easier on my legs.
Yeah. So there
And
we go.
just
So
a, just a quick note: when you said 15 forward and 15 in the back, I can't do 15 on my back leg because that's the one that compresses the area where there's no cartilage.
okay.
The other thing that I notice is that when I get into that back leg, yeah, I end up going back to the old habit of opening up my shoulders, and starting to sit way back and just really tearing the devil out of the back leg.
So
So
we can kind of close this thing up with a couple of comments, being that one, manufacturers put recommended spots to have your feet on your board, space wise, right? And the ideal spot from the manufacturer to get the right decamber of the board and the actions that the rider wants, right?
yeah,
But does the manufacturer know what length everybody's legs is, or what their body issues are, or their injuries, or
nope.
anything else? No. So what that means to all riders is maybe start where the manufacturer's at, move it, change it, adjust it until you find the best performance from that board for your body situations. And none of us are the same. For example, now I'm currently on that same directional board, and I have a 15 forward foot and I have a -9 back foot. So I kind of moved out of that duck stance. I have a shorter tail, and I like the performance of it. I might go
Yeah,
to
you were
18 or
doing fine
21.
with that.
Might go to 18 or 21. So for the viewer out there, what it amounts to is make changes on the snow. Ted said before the season, but I'm saying on the snow, ride it, understand what performance you just got out of it. If you're not happy with it, change it again and change it again and change it again until something about that board and your setup matches your body and your enjoyment of riding. Can we
There's
agree on all that?
Yep. There's that phrase that we use, range of motion, and it's like range of motion describes like how far you can move from A to B,
Yeah,
but you can move from A to B and you have no strength. That's not range of motion. That just means you can move from A to B, but if you can't do anything once you get there, what's the point? So
right.
you have to find out how far you can move and still do things. I
That's what
can do a
snowboarding is
deep
all about.
squat, not get up.
That's what snowboarding is all about. And every time I change a board or I change a binding, something changes in my use of that equipment because it's not what I have been on, and I start all over again. So basically, we're saying to the viewers out there, if you're having difficulties, make changes. Make changes. There's no one answer to anybody's problem because all of our bodies function differently. Our brains function differently, everything we do. But ultimately, we all ride, and that's what we're trying to do. So I think we pretty much covered this topic for what was asked. We're just basically recommended set it up, go ride it. You have pain, change it. You don't like the performance of it, whatever. So another ultimate thing we have to do here, Abram said, well, Obi-Wan Kenobi or one of those guys from the dark side. My next thing is set it up, find out what it'll do, and be willing to know what it is you do when you ride and what it is you don't do when you ride. watch our videos, check out some of the alignment issues, things we're talking about, and have a great day. That's all I got on this end.
Okay. Sounds good to me. I'm
All
just
right. So
dying to get into some powders one day.
yeah, well, right now it'll be talcum powder in the bathroom or face powder. That's about it. But anyhow, it was good talking to
Man,
you. We'll get back together again. I'm enjoying these younger guys coming in, even though they're catching up to us, but they ain't there yet. Later.
cheers.